You are now listening to Femme Regard Podcast with Tessa Markle
and Carolina Alvarez.
Femme.
Welcome back, Femme fam. Did you miss us? Like just us without the guest?
I know.
It's been a minute.
It has. I was just like, Tessa, we gotta reel it back to just the two of us. I mean, we already had our coffee today, so
I've had 2 cups.
You have to, okay. I'm just on 1 cup right now, and I'm feeling pretty amped. Had a decent amount of sleep, and November 3rd is tomorrow, election day, y'all. So it's a crazy time in Los Angeles. I feel like the city really feels and breathes politics here, and so it's just been an interesting time for sure. So hoping for the best, but.
I mean, honestly though, this city is wild from both sides too. So no matter what happens, I think some shit's gonna go down. So we'll see.
I'm going to Tahoe. I won't be here for the aftermath. It's my birthday next Monday.
Yeah.
Hey, I hate that it always falls around election. 2016 was rough, let's just say that. So I'm not going to be here for a little bit. And I think you're going camping too, huh?
Well, not camping, it's a cabin, but just not as far away.
I'm always assuming when Tessa's going away, she's going camping. I don't know why, but because of quarantine, that's what's been locked in my head. It's like Tessa's
I've been wanting to. So, yeah. I mean, but it's starting to get a little chilly. So, at night it goes down to the 60s, which I can totally do, but I prefer to do it in the summertime.
We're on season 7, which is kind of amazing and crazy that we're here. I know we've talked about that with you guys already as we launched, but really I am so thankful that we've stuck through it, because podcasting, I feel a lot of people want to start that nowadays, and I think go for it. But it is a lot of work if you want to have a continuous audience show and make sure you're bringing in quality content. So I am really proud of us, Tessa. We did it. We're here, and I'm still so happy we're doing this. Yeah. It's something that I look forward to doing, and I think when you have a good system down like we do, it's not overwhelming. It's manageable with everything else that we going on.
And I mean, one of the biggest things about it is that we're building our network doing this, which is what we talk to you guys about all the time, finding your tribe and all of that stuff. This is the best way to meet people. So it gives you an excuse too, to it's not just a, hey, can I pick your brain kind of thing. It's, hey, come on the podcast. We both get something out of it. It works out for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's been a really inspiring journey as we've met and heard so many stories. I think the key takeaways, if you're new to our show and are just watching us right now for the first time, season 7, we started this podcast 2017 March. No. Oh, sorry, 17. Oh my God, 19. Let's edit that. 2019. I think it was a March release. I remember it was springtime, because the idea started in end of November of 2018, but we were fully able to launch because we did preparation for a couple months, and we were able to launch then. And our show is geared towards the independent filmmaker who's at our level, or maybe definitely a bit more advanced even, who wants to hear from other filmmakers that are working in the current environment and independently. And so we try to bring on guests who are just working at it, kicking butt, making inspiring work. We are passionate about lifting up the voices of women in the industry and the underrepresented voices out there. So that's what we're really passionate about on this podcast. And I think where I was going is, if you're new, that is what we try to tackle on here. It's we bring on people who have had years and years of success. Actually, that's been a lot of that recently, because I think also those are stories that are really awesome to hear.
Well, everybody's got to start somewhere, right? So even the people that are totally studio level professionals working all the time, they all started somewhere. So it's great to hear how they even got from A to B.
Exactly. So I think it's been fun to do a mix, but we have been really inspired by now our gram friends, as we call them, and we might see Sabine, I think, at this month. We're hoping to. If you guys remember Sabine, I'm gonna butcher her last name, so don't even. Starts with a K. I'm not gonna try and butcher it right now, but it's awesome to have those opportunities now to see working artists who are coming to LA, or if we go to New York. So that's been fun, but that's what we're building here, is that network of people and hearing how they're doing it right now. And even through this time, it's been great to still see so much positivity of people finding work and doing it.
We've talked about that with a lot of our most recent guests, of like, well, there's still work to be had. There's still things to do. Like, and I mean, we felt that, through quarantine, like there's definitely been some times where it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Watch another season of something. But it's like, no, there's so much work to still be done. And even if we're not out there like physically filming, we're still working all the time.
Yeah. To be real, like my creativity has like plummeted on the writing level. I think with the podcast, that I found ways to like work through that and still be creative and in the business. But I've like lost my job because of everything going on and like some personal things. And it's been so great. I think the last couple of weeks have started to feel that energy again, and that's going to happen. Like burnouts are going to happen. We talk about it on the show too. There's been some really amazing guests. Shout out to Corey McComb, who just released his book. We had him on the show to speak on creativity and how to keep that fire burning, especially like what leads to burnouts and stuff. So his book just came out, so shout out to him. But yeah, for me, that definitely happened, and I think it happened to a lot of people. But right now it's exciting because I'm like, this is a perfect time though to be writing, because of COVID. That's the safest thing I can do right now too.
Yeah.
And then prep for the future, because I still believe we're going to be able to navigate through this in a safe way and still be able to film and not use AI and robots for everything.
Yeah, okay. AI robots, like, can we talk about this?
Yeah, let's definitely have a little moment, Tessa.
Straight up bullshit. Like, okay. First of all, let me tell you guys something about me. I'm a conspiracy theorist, and I am positive that robots are going to take over the world at some point. So, I'm already terrified by this. But also, like, come on, there are thousands of actors. I mean, there's probably millions, but thousands of actually good ones, let's be honest. Okay, and we don't need robots to do our job. It is absolutely insane. Like, the fact,
so annoying.
I guess it's cool that they can create that, but it's not necessary. It's really not. And if it becomes a thing beyond this, like, one influencer, AI, robot, whatever, like, I'm gonna revolt.
I'm gonna be right there with you, marching with a sign. I totally feel the same way, Tessa. It's just, as an actor or director, you like, I mean, there's tons of times you have to like shoot without the person, but I feel like that's the beautiful thing about filmmaking is being in person with someone real and like being able to work off one another and feel each other's energies.
Yeah.
And like, the fuck you gonna do that with a robot? Like,
I mean, even if they just use them as stand-ins, not an actual like performance, that's gonna put so many people out of jobs that's what they do. It's like
I think it's just unfair to us artists who like, again, if you're new to the show, Tessa and I are actors first. That's where our background. So we're very passionate about keeping our people in work. and if you're new, like, I think it's amazing to embrace new technology out there. We talk about new media on this show, and can we just Quibi failed.
We knew it.
Sorry. I know, like, some people are whatever. We just didn't think that was the work, and it didn't. So R.I.P. Quibi. Let's have a moment of silence. Don't hire robots. Hire humans.
Yeah,
that's where we're going.
I mean, just in life in general, don't hire robots. Do we want to go extinct? I mean, come on, people. Speaking of casting, that makes me think of something I want to talk about in this episode too.
Okay.
So our last episode was with Vita. If you haven't listened, go back and check her out. But she talked a lot about being cast like for her race and the kind of roles that she was getting for that. And Carolina, you had brought up just a little bit, and I really want to dive into that more because I know a lot of people are probably experiencing that too.
Yeah, no, thank you. I totally forgot about that. That was, we just ran out of time. And so about me, I'm half Polish, half Colombian. And it's, you know, the hot thing right now is to be able to go out for multiracial roles.
Ethnically ambiguous.
Thank you. That's what I was like, what's the term? Ethnically ambiguous. Yes. And like, I'm like, oh my God, finally, you know, that is something I can really submit for. I really feel like as my identity, which can be like a mix, I feel really mixed at heart. Like I feel half and half with my upbringing. And so I'm like, great, yes, I'm gonna go for these roles. And it's just been really hard currently with my commercial agents. All they do is give me Latinx roles, and I just think if casting's looking for the real Latina at heart, no, it's not happening. Like,
you're too white for that.
Thank you. I'm like, this isn't the right card. Like, I haven't been able to book anything for that, and it's been really frustrating because, I do feel like in a lot of ways I can give the Latina flavor, but I don't look that, and it's like annoying because I feel pigeonholed, and then I don't feel represented. So ethnically ambiguous, what is that? I feel like that's something that's still like, that isn't a role that I see really casted, because I'm still gonna either go into the category of white or Latina, you know?
Well, I think the thing is like, you know, the idea is to create more diversity on screen, but it's like, you're doing it wrong. Like, we don't want to see the token Mexican. Like, we want to see actual Latin people, you know? And it's just like, if you have a commercial with people of, you know, various skin tones, but they're like extremely, you know, one thing or another,
you're still not opening up the diversity. I think you're still putting them in boxes.
Exactly. You're not showing people with who they actually are, you know?
Yeah, that was perfectly said. Exactly. So, I mean, I still think that's a hot topic that still needs to be worked on. And what I loved about Vita is that she really spoke to her agent about that. I think she really tried to be like, hey, can you give me some other roles here? Or she started to see, you know, that her race wasn't just used as a stereotype, and in that way that's really great. So I think it's also your job as the actor. Like, I need to go back now to my agents and be like, yeah, hey, so can we give me some other roles here? Because my name is Carolina Alvarez. My friend Jason always makes fun of me because he'll hear me slate, and he's like, oh, you know, I hear you when you're going for a Latino role, because all of a sudden you go from Carolina Alvarez to Carolina Alvarez, and I'm like, yep, gotta
rein it in, Carol.
It's because I look white as hell. Like, I have to sell it, and I'm like, I shouldn't have to try to be who I am. You know?
Well, that brings up another interesting topic too, is like, do we as actors take advantage of the work that we're given if it's not really who we are? You know what I mean? Like, I get sent out for a lot of ethnically ambiguous roles, and like, I'm Italian, like I'm white as hell, like, you know, but it's like, it's work. I don't want to say no to it. But it sucks because it should be going to someone who actually is that, you know? And I mean, it's like, there was that whole conversation about, I forget which show it was, but it was a black character, like the animated version was black, but the person who was voicing it was white, and they felt bad about that, and they quit the show. And it's like, you know, how I don't know, how do you feel about that? I don't even know how I feel about it, to be honest.
That's really hard, because I feel like we live and breathe the acting scene. It's just so hard.
And I mean, I think for casting, it's kind of, it's on them. They should be casting. But as an actor, if I'm offered that, like, it's work, especially if I'm not already successful and like can really pick and choose.
I feel like I always take it back, like, feel it in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you feel just off or wrong about it, it's, your performance is going to be affected.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. I think casting needs to really, like, they're in charge of that. But if it's just straight up racist, like, you're going to feel that as well. You're going to just know. And I think then at the end of the day, you're going to make the right call, or should make the right call, based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because sure, I know, like, voice acting, I think you can get by a little bit, because if you're a voice actor, you're trained to play dialects and accents and do a bunch of things. So I think you get a little leeway there. But, with other things, it's just like, okay, feel like, am I really going to deliver this performance and give that background to the person, what's the word? Give them the best performance, the best authentic performance that you can, because you resonate with that. Because there's different elements, you're like, wow, this story, I really resonate with it. And maybe the race is mixed or something, but if it works, you feel like you can really deliver. I feel like that's just something you have to feel as of now. That's how I feel right now about it. It's different. I haven't yet been presented. I feel conflicted because, like, if they're gonna give me like a super Latino role, I feel like I understand a bit of that world to dive in, but I will feel weird if they're like trying to go for something token, because I'm not. And that's just something I think I'm gonna have to battle for the rest of time, because that's something I've always struggled with. Like, where do I fall? Like in musical theater, that's where I really began, and there were just very set roles. You will know that about Broadway, it's about operas. They're very set. And so I was like, I don't feel like I resonate with any of them. I just don't. Yeah. Like, maybe Eva Baron from Evita, she was white as hell. So, like, that is probably where I'm at. Because, West Side Story, I wanted to play all those Latino roles, and I'm just never going to get there, probably. So, I'm just too white. So,
I think that's smart, though, in general, is to follow your gut. Like, that is really a good rule of thumb, because there's so many things that it's like, for instance, on your Actors Access profile, which for those of you that might not be in LA or actors, it's just, an online profile where you have your resume up and all your specs and all that stuff, and you get auditions from. But, there's boxes to check of like, will you cut your hair? Will you do nudity? Like, all those things that it's like, well, it depends on the project.
Yeah.
It depends how much I'm getting paid. It depends how much I believe in the project. And so,
I'm not cutting my hair for like anything. I have, this is virgin. She has not been cut to here. She's not been dyed. So I'm like, that's how I feel. Like, I will use that rule of thumb for like anything. You're absolutely right. Like I think we have to value ourselves as that too. It's, some people don't, and that's fine. Like, you will cut your hair for any role. That's amazing. You do you, boo. I'm not that person. I'm like, what are you paying me? What's it for? Because, she's not about to do that.
No, totally. Yeah, trust your gut, I think, with anything is a good rule of thumb.
I think that's so key, so important.
Plus, I mean, we could take this even further. We won't get into this very deeply, but, the whole Me Too movement, like, that's another thing that it's like...
Actually, let's get into that, because that will segue the next thing that I know I really wanted to talk about.
Perfect. Yeah. But it's like, if you, if you're meeting with someone and it doesn't feel right, and I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be sexual either, but, whatever the premise is, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
Your gut will always be right. Tessa and I was telling Tessa, we should bring this up, because even with the Me Too movement, there's still some shady shit happening. Like, and that doesn't mean just on the actor scale, that means production too. If you're getting hired for a job, there's some shady motherfuckers out there. And should I do like a clean version? There's some shady people out there, and you need to be aware of them, because it's still happening. And I just recently went through something, and I wanted to share it on the show, because again, we have this platform, and I would hate for anyone to go through something and and lose money or worse. So we were contacted for a production assistant position, and currently right now, because we're not filming anything, and I just want to live and breathe production as much as I can to make a living, I was like, I'm really hunting for any extra production type roles. Like that's where I am right now. And so yeah, when we got this email, that just like kind of broke down what the pay and a little bit about the project was. I will say it was from an Adam Morgan, in case anyone receives an email from this gentleman, who's not a gentleman, to be aware. He, you know, I followed up with him personally, then for my personal account, because Tessa and I discussed it, and she's like, yeah, I know you're trying to do that. So I'm like, great. So I went and applied, and then he sent back a very detailed email of who he was, what he's working on, what he's been doing, and how he operates. And I was like, oh, this is good sign, because Tessa and I have worked with some people before where it's like, got to pull teeth to get some information, and those projects we've just learned to like sign off of, and we're like, we're not going to work with this person. Like, it's just not worth our time, because how we love to operate is being so specific, so detailed, giving more information than not. Yeah. And that's how we like to roll. So with him, I was like, oh, okay, this is good.
And we looked up the company that he said he worked for, and it was an actual legitimate company. So he's clearly, you know, doing this by using real companies to make himself look legitimate.
Exactly. So I was like, you know, always do background checks if you can. Use LinkedIn. If you have LinkedIn Premium, go look at the people and make sure they are on listed under the company, which I tried to do, and he didn't come up. And I was like, okay, I know, like, I'm not going to be listed under this company. Like, what if he's an independent hire? That's where my mind went. But I was like, okay, the company though is legitimate. And he broke down that he would hire me for pre-production for the first week, and then we would have a meeting, reevaluate my performance, and if I did well, he would hire me for the 5 days the film was going to shoot. So I was like, oh, that's smart too, because like, how do you know that I'm going to do a good job too? Like, without, any references personally from him or whatever. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then here's where they get you. They say, you know, he said that he would pay me for pre-production along with money that he would send a check that would include my pay up front for the week of pre-production, plus money to use for renting equipment, etc. So this is where check fraud happens. And I'm sorry, y'all, that I didn't see this like glaring at me with red lights. But I don't know why I just went there. But she did. And I've never dealt with check fraud or know anything about it. But I was like, okay. So finally he sent me the check, and that was on a Saturday. I went and deposited, and my bank flagged it kind of and was like, it was on hold for 7 days. That's what a little notice printed. I showed him that, was like through text, and he was like, I was like, where are we gonna go from here? Because I can't start production without that, right? Pre-production, and duh. And he was like, okay, I will get back to you on Monday with like instructions. So I'm like, okay, because this is not my problem. So Monday came, followed up with him, didn't hear anything. Tuesday came, followed up with him, didn't hear anything. I was like, okay, something's weird. Like, you're paying me to work this week. So any legitimate production, that doesn't happen. You don't just hang out. I mean, right, like without anything, you know. So, sure enough, I dealt with my bank on Wednesday. Thank God. I didn't lose my money because I didn't spend it, but still, it was a very terrifying thing because it did deduct me like out of safety reasons, $5,000. So luckily, I didn't like go and spend that money or anything, and it all ended up working out. But for anyone who hasn't experienced that, what they typically will do is then if the check doesn't bounce or get flagged right away, like mine did, it'll go into your account and then they'll tell you like, hey, can you send this person money for equipment and this, and then next thing you know, a week or two later, that check bounces and guess who's out $5,000? It's you, not them, because you were using that money. So and at that point, you can't get it back.
Because if a check is deposited and no money really goes anywhere, the bank will help you out with that. They'll be like, okay, we'll cancel this. But if you've spent that money, then you owe the bank. That's on you. And
I was really upset because I know the current climate right now, as again we're talking, there's work's happening, but it's really not popping right now. And there's a limited amount happening. And I'm sure there's so many people in our position where you're hungry for work, you want to do it, and something like this happens and you see this is such a great opportunity, you're excited, and then it ends up being fraud. And it's like, my point is just make sure you are doing all this background, because I know it's sad that people are taking advantage of people who want to do work. And I'm so mad at the banker who was giving me shit like, oh, you never met the guy? There's no such thing as free money. And I was like, dude, I was working for this money. Like,
right. And it happens to a lot. I know all kinds of fraud happens to a lot of people, but like professional people who do this for a living, like we've reached out to our network and warned people, and so many people came back saying that they've gone through the same thing or know somebody that has. So it's easy to get convinced that
it was, thank you to if anyone who's on the show that responded to those emails or message boards that were, didn't make me feel like shit and like understood the situation. They were very kind. They said the same thing, that they've been through it, or they understand why it seems so legitimate. Because it just, all the details were there. It sounded really professional. Yeah. I did the digging and then I did some more digging and I also found that some other person on some random New York film blog said that they had the guy's name and another film company, which is what Tessa was saying. These people are using other production companies. And the check that I even got had the company name on it. So it's like, I guess anyone can stamp a logo on a check, right? And there you go. You think, oh, but never accept priority at next day checks. They're probably fraud. Go to your teller. Don't go to an ATM. Because also, I think if I had gone in and versus an ATM, I was just in a rush that day, and that's what he told me to do. I think they would have caught it on too. So even if you get a check,
trained. The banks know these things. They've seen fraud checks. Most of us have not dealt with that. How would you know that that's a thing? So yeah, just to be safe, don't go to the ATM, go to the teller, and I think that will also give you a safety net. I would encourage that. And I guess to circle back to our Me Too movement, also, which was my first real red flag, after I'd signed the contract, we went over the check process. He asked me to set up for our meeting that I said would happen at the end of the production week at a motel, y'all. And I was like, not even a hotel with an actual conference room or bar or anything like that, a motel.
And I was like, is he out of his mind? We don't do hotels. We certainly don't do motels. And it was a little creepy because it was 7 minutes away from where I live, and I don't live in the best area of LA at the moment. So I was just like, what? So I, always, assert yourself in these situations. And I did, and I responded respectfully, no. Can we meet? And I gave a public location. And that this is when then he kind of fell off and didn't stop responding to me because of the whole check thing. But that was also what also gutted me. Something feels a little off, because I'm sure it even happens. That's what Tessa and I wanted to talk about. It still happens. And if anyone, I've been through some things. I think Tessa's been through some things, nothing dangerous, but like prior to the Me Too movement too, like you're young, you're in Hollywood, you want opportunity, and sometimes you're a little nervous when you're thinking you're given like a really good opportunity. You can't help but be like, okay, like I'll be safe, like I'm not gonna do anything weird. And it amazes me that, it can still happen.
Well, I think sometimes people too don't really think about like the situation they're putting other people in, like I've gotten auditions where it's been at someone's apartment and it's like, I get it, you don't want to spend the money and they're perfectly fine people, but like, no, you can't expect people to go to your apartment because they don't know what's going to happen, So ladies, if stuff like that happens to you, respectfully say, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with that, because if the other person can't understand that, then you don't need to be working with them anyway. Even if they had no bad intentions whatsoever, if they can't respect you for that, you don't need to work with them.
Well said. Yeah, that's really it. That's it. That's all you need to do, ladies. And men, I think we need to be more conscious of the situation we're putting anyone in. So, if it's been a couple meetings, you guys have that great working relationship, fine, you're comfortable, like that's different, but especially you don't know the person, you got to take that extra precaution and keep it professional. That's what we're all trying. I think in the entertainment industry, like lines can kind of get blurred because we're just, it's creative, it's inventive, we all like do the weird things, but at the same time we're business. So I know we're not like, we don't operate quite always like corporate, but I think sometimes we need to enforce certain guidelines because oftentimes they aren't, and then that's why these things happen. So I think it's interesting because it's definitely, I feel sometimes the way we do things is a little bit not the way like a corporation would maybe even handle things. But I think you're right, we need to like
stay professional, trust your gut, be respectful on both sides. Like it's pretty simple.
Yeah, but it isn't though. Like I think you just sometimes like in the moment you want to trust your gut, but then you're like, but oh my God, like especially if you've never done that before, you can feel like weird or nervous or scared to like upset someone, but don't, like again, like what Tessa said, if they get upset, they're not working with, like, and you're saving yourself. You're totally saving yourself. Because what if it's not something that happens there, but then later on? Because if a person respects you, they just wouldn't they wouldn't offer something like that. So, it could be also something that happens down the line, So we just stay safe, guys. The COVIDs aren't just out to get you.
Yeah, but also stay safe from that too. Wear your mask. But seriously, guys, we just want to keep you guys safe, and we want to share our experiences. I mean, that's what we're here for. That's why we started this show. So, yeah, just stay safe, stay inspired through all of this.
I know, we need to end it on a happier note than this. Okay. So we really wanted to cover that because again, we're here to share our experiences. So I love that. And like I said, right now I'm excited. I feel like I have a really fun writing bug caught up. We're excited to wrap up the year with some fun guests that we're excited about, and we're really excited to have had Quasar on and do that whole lighting demo, which again, if you want to see the lighting demo, sign up to our Patreon. Thank you again to our patrons who have subscribed and donated. Yes, it is a donation subscription base, and that money is really helpful for the unemployed and helping us continue to do highlight episodes like that and film in a professional studio. I feel like our studio today made shift by yours truly.
That's what you do in quarantine.
What you do. So to have those special moments, it's really helped us and given us some peace of mind that we can continue to operate and not worry about the added expenses, and we're just excited to keep going.
Yeah.
Filming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you guys, and we'll see you for the rest of the season with some more awesome special guests.
Yes. And please subscribe, rate. Again, those ratings really help us. So feel free to write about, your girls.
And tell your friends.
And tell your friends. Yeah, exactly. All right. Besitos.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in next time for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals over tea.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. If you leave us a great comment, we might give you a shout out on the show. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.